Yeah, and so I get this question a lot also about, this intersection of faith and surrender, and what I mean by faith. And so for us to truly surrender, for us to truly let go, you have to have a sense that what you're letting go into is good. And I think of surrender as like, it's like laying in a bed, after a long day of work. You trust that your bed is going to hold you, and you just let go and you give yourself permission to simply be held, by the bed. Simply be held. And so, like we were talking about, I've always had a deep connection with God. And so faith was never a problem for me. And so, anytime I have a sense of letting go, it's like, yeah, I'm letting go into the Divine Mother. I'm letting go into being eternally held. I'm letting go into this softness and this grand intelligence that has my back always, has my best interest in mind. But if we don't have that, well, yes, of course, then the question becomes, well, how do we develop a faith? Especially if life's been really hard. Like, how do we develop faith? If we've gotten beat up by life, like, how do we trust? And one of the first things I could ask is, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is you hang out in your ego, you're angry, you're jaded, you're constantly judgmental, expecting the worst. And most of us have tried that for some period of time, or we're just stuck in a fight or flight response with life. And when you limit yourself to living in ego, even though it may feel like a protection, like, okay, I'm not going to trust God, like, screw God. Life's been hard for me. I'm just going to hang out my ego. But when you're in your egoic nature, it feels like hell. It feels like hell. It just does. It feels like you're in prison. It feels limiting. It feels like you're walking around in armor. It's heavy. It's exhausting. And intuitively, you just know that's not the way forward. So faith is that willingness to trust. Like, fuck, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way to live than just to be guarded and defended and always scanning the environment and seeing who's safe and who's not. Or doing what a lot of spiritual people do, especially people who are like a good Buddhist. I'm going to figure it out all by myself, just like the Buddha did. I'm going to use my supreme willpower and independence. But see, the Buddha didn't live in that way. He spent years as a yogi opening his heart, opening to these realms of divinity, trusting, letting go. And he realized that there is this space, this presence here. Whether you call it God or vast spacious awareness, there's a presence that's warm, that's alive, that's intelligent, that's compassionate, that's peaceful, that's spacious, that is inclusive and allows. And see, the Buddha spoke about all the different qualities of God. He just never said the word God. He kind of just removed that from his teaching just to take the complexity of the Hindu or yogic tradition out of his teachings and make them really simple. But the invitation here, it's like when you're a little kid and you walk outside and you look up at that huge starry night sky. You have this sense that the universe is good, that it's gentle, that it's spacious, that it allows, that it's inclusive. And so it's that willingness to be like a child and to trust. If you open up, if you let go, that your true mother, the mother of all, the Divine Mother, that she will hold you, that she loves you, that she made you in her image and likeness. Her likeness, her quality, her likeness is love. She gave you a heart. You are love. And so it's trusting that you can let go into that. And again, remember, what's the other choice? I don't want to do that. I'm going to be guarded and defended. I'm going to be angry at God for creating a world with pain. Well, what God did is God created an evolutionary world. She's not trying to punish you by making you suffer. Whether you like it or not, this is one of the things we can't negotiate with. We live in an evolutionary world. And you may have been born into a family that's been difficult, a life that's been difficult. We are growing out of being animal beings into human beings, and out of human beings into divine beings. And whether we like it or not, that's a painful process. So for one reason or another, God wanted to create a world that's evolutionary, where we grow into greater and greater manifestations of divinity. And that's just the deal. And we can argue with it and feel blamed or poor me or this or that. But at some point we can just look at it and say, okay, this is the world. I'm growing into the light. How about you call upon some support? Can we call upon some support to help me grow quicker, to help take this pain? I mean, God is free. Faith is free. She's always there. It's this eternal intelligence who just wants to love you and hold you and support you. And getting out of that prison cell of ego, which is, again, one of those evolutionary steps. Out of animal nature, which is just instinctual, into egoic nature, human nature. And you kind of grow through that, and then into this divine mind. And so to step into this divine mind, divine way of being, it's an upgrade. Faith is an upgrade. If you can remember your computer from 15 years ago, you don't want it. Just like your ego. It's maybe helpful at the time, but it's time to let go of that and to step into something greater. We're talking about letting go into the love, the intelligence, the peace, the beauty, the compassion of the universe that you happen to be one with. So we get a really good deal. It's like we pay. Our payment is letting go of pain and egoic identification and receiving the universe, receiving the hugeness of compassion, the hugeness of love. We receive spaciousness and freedom. And so it's this willingness to say, yes, I'll let go into that. It's like when, teenagers, they're young, they say, I want to get high. I want to, smoke pot or whatever. They want to let go into a greater consciousness. When we drink alcohol, same thing. I want to let go and just space out. And so this is what we're talking about, letting go into something much greater. Much greater than getting high temporarily or getting, faded or whatever people do with alcohol. We're letting go into something wonderful. And your body is naturally designed to do this. When you do it, you feel better. Your consciousness expands. Your heart lights up. You feel more relaxed and at ease. Your whole nervous system feels connected and alive. Sometimes when we let go, all these tears come and all this pain, it empties out of us. But if you ever notice after a good cry and letting go, where you've actually let go of the story and let go and given yourself permission to be held by God, you feel so wonderful. You feel spacious. You feel awake. You feel kind of high, kind of loopy, like a sense of colors are brighter. You feel lighter. You're smiling. And the thing you are struggling with, it's like it doesn't even make sense anymore. It falls out of your consciousness. And so it's a willingness to let go into something wonderful. Now, when people don't have a relationship with God, when they don't trust that what they're letting go into is good, we have this egoic vision that I'm going to let go into hell. I'm going to let go into a void. I'm going to let go into, vast empty space where there's nothing there. And so we can stop and be fearful and just go back to our mind and hang out there. Or we can actually let go and see what happens. It's just like going for a hike at nighttime. You walk outside and you feel this awe. Your body comes alive. You feel wonderful. But yeah, sometimes we have to trust and try something new if we want our life to change. And so yes, faith is one of the great doorways. And the funny thing is a little faith goes a long way. If you just open your heart to God and you begin to experience her presence in your life, in a couple of years, you have a whole new life, a whole new worldview. Your consciousness becomes so greatly expanded. You couldn't even imagine living without this. Faith becomes just a normal way of being. And, the idea of believing in God, it doesn't even make sense. There's just a sense of, oh, I and God are one. Life and I are one. You feel held, you feel loved, you feel supported, like you always have a silent partner. That sense of victim consciousness and loneliness or me against the world falls away. And you truly step into this non-dual sense of unity with God. Fearlessness eventually becomes your nature, along with humility and peace and freedom. So yes, this is a huge doorway. But it requires some courage to say, I'm going to open and try something new. Yes, that's a beautiful, beautiful question.